Alrighty, and we are here. Blueprint for Black Power, Chapter 4. So far, it is me and Helena in the building. And
Indeed. Hello, hello.
peace and blessings. Let's get right into it. Consciousness and power. Just reading these couple of pages because it was only 15, so it wasn't that much. But
Right. Got a lot in there.
yeah, even though it was a little, still had a lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
I was really intrigued of how consciousness was broken down and then how that is a form of power as Amos Wilson broke it. So in the first couple of pages, he talks about state of being consciousness and the state of consciousness. And I didn't know it was like, I guess, different forms or a different it's the similar, but it's not exactly the same.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So he was saying that the state of being conscious is, not only being aware, but maintaining that. And, that's in regards to memory, having the willpower to make your own decisions and just, just being in control. And it reflects, it reflects to your state of consciousness, which is like levels to it in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was a nice little breakdown. And
Same here. Same here.
and then after that, he touches on consciousness of how, let me see. Oh, what drives a person once they're conscious? They're them wanting to achieve goals and basically find their identity, just solving things. And it
Mm-hmm.
comes with a factor of interpreting, perceiving information, experience, skills, all these factors, if organized properly and joined together, you know, it it um it it helps the person ascend, in a conscious level. And what really struck me a lot too was just the fact that how it's used in the form of power. S-
Yes.
So you have consciousness where a person that is self-determined, they're doing things for themselves, they're aware, and they're making these decisions, whether versus the other form of consciousness, which is influenced by others.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes. Yes.
it's their control and their power that is guiding them to, make these certain decisions, think a certain way, receive information a certain way. And so I just thought, like, that definitely takes an effect of what's going on now because people may think that, oh, okay, we have to, be successful, work in corporate, or get that six-figure
Yeah.
job and, a house with a picket fence, and that's life. That's how we're
Right.
supposed to see it. And that's only just one level. That's probably the lowest level,
Mm-hmm.
versus the Europeans that actually are in control of how we're supposed to be conscious. So I really just thought that was um that was just powerful, and how it was broken down. It really takes into play of like how we should go back from chapter 3, create a new identity, because with
Right.
that,
Absolutely. I was going to say yes. Ties in nicely.
Right.
nicely,
Right.
and how he, you know, the beginning of the chapter, how he's breaking down consciousness, really explaining, and like you said, I mean, it was a surprise to me too.
Yeah.
Didn't realize, yeah, you can go that deeply into the different, what's the different levels, as
Hmm.
we'll say, but also how he makes that connection, like he's talking about individual, but what he's saying is that this is also relevant when discussing our group as African people.
Yeah.
And so it was important to go through that, the explanation and, that detail. And it's like, good gracious, it's a lot. It's a lot packed into that, to this small, one small chapter. But it was important to have that and then understand, okay, we're talking about individuals, but we're also talking about this as a collective.
Right.
And when he has his the white consciousness versus black consciousness, the white power, black
Hmm.
consciousness, and you start to really understand. I said, yeah, it was important for him to open up the chapter that way. I mean, really getting into detail, and you say, okay, yeah, as a collective, we behave, kind of like. He didn't put that analogy in there, but like a school of fish
Right.
sometimes,
Right.
and determined by what a predator I mean, that's how I'm thinking of it is doing. And we somebody's coming in. Oh, emoji. Yeah, so we definitely agree on this. I enjoyed the chapter. It was a lot packed in there.
Yeah. Even page 93, I had highlighted a paragraph. Hey, Umoja.
What's up?
Hey, what's going on? Peace.
Hey,
What's up? What's up, y'all?
Nothing
peace.
much. Nothing much. Consciousness as power. That's what we're talking about.
Keep,
Mhm.
keep on going. You was talking about page 93 or something.
Yeah, page 93, I had highlighted a certain paragraph that I want to cover because it goes back to what you were talking about with whites, uh, white consciousness versus black consciousness. And it says, to the degree that the values blacks use to determine their own behavior are originated and controlled by whites, is the degree behavior falls under white control, is the degree whites retain and exercise social power over blacks, is the degree blacks are powerless relative to whites. This allows whites to socially control the behavior of blacks while blacks believe themselves in control.
Being in control. Yep.
Yep. Yep.
Black power requires that blacks originate their own values and that those values be exercised by them in their own interests. So this was talking about values as instruments of social control. And
Mhm.
when I read that part, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this to me spark out the most because again, going back to what I said, certain people that are we can even look at successful people. They're really thinking that, they're on the top of the top, right? And
Right.
that they
Oh, yeah.
have a certain hierarchy. Now, albeit, they got some access, right? They may have some powers to make a few little moves, but when we look at the grand scheme, I mean,
Right.
you're a grain of salt,
Well,
Yep.
we gotta. Well, when you say the grand scheme, specifically the grand scheme in the case of what we're always talking about is the future of our people.
Right,
and and see, but then you get back to what Dr. Amos was talking about. We get our values from American culture, no matter how we want to put it. Even a blackety person,
right,
our values stem from what we known in white culture, and that's what I was talking about. Like, what do we view as success? Like having a nice suit, having a BMW or the Mercedes, and all this other shit. But then it's like, well,
Mhm.
what about your people though? Like your people is still, you still a nigga. What Kanye self, even if I'm in the Benz, I'm still a nigga in the coupe. Back when he was like dope, when it all falls
Yeah.
down, that's
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
you nigga in the coupe. So what if you in the Benz? So what if you a policeman? If you ain't got on your police suit, and sometime if you do, the police still gonna treat you like a nigga, man.
That's right.
And that's because of your social standing, and that's because the same way white folks give off that consciousness is power as them being in power, black people give off the consciousness towards everybody else that we ain't shit, that we will take shit, that we not gonna do shit, that we just gonna talk shit, that we gonna get money and go buy big ass diamonds and shit like that and look like clowns. That's what other people view us as. We don't get that at all. We don't get that at all, man. That's why when people say the culture, I'm like, fuck the culture, man. What's the culture? Tell me what's the culture and how it's good.
Right.
Tell me, like straight up.
I immediately thought of entertainers or people who have some, some popularity, on TV or what have you, and quote unquote some power because of that, and how they choose sometimes to talk to our community, our people. And it's like, you really think you have power? I mean, that you're going to wag your finger at our people and dispense all this knowledge, and I'm like, you really, it's one thing to try to help and to chastise when needed, but a lot of times when that's not what's being done, when it's a finger wagging, it's like, look at me, I've gotten to this spot, you can do it too if you just blah blah blah. I said, no, it's only a handful will get to the spot where you are, and you really think you've got power, and like you said, as you put it, the grand scheme of things, no.
That's our people. That's the thing, though. Yeah. The grand scheme is our people, and how we're viewed and how we view ourselves, man. And it's just crazy. But it really comes down to that our values are not that of African values. It's just not that we value come from a European worldview. Individualism. I got to take care of me and mine. And when we say me and mine, it means me and maybe my girl. All of us don't even give a damn about our kids and our family. That's real. Like, straight up.
That's big facts. That's big facts.
They just talk about me and mine. That's all they care about is me and mine.
I got the keys to the city. I run this city.
Right. That shit like that too. Just because they go out to the same club every weekend and tip well, they really think that they run the city too. It's really crazy, man. But to me though, every time I read, as I'm reading this, the only thing that it keeps coming back to is our lack of organization, man, on like a mass level. That's just killing us, man. And it also makes me think too, we in such a bad state to where we have to do fucking outreach to get ourselves to organize. I don't know. Maybe I just don't look at enough social media, or my algorithm is fucked up. But I don't never see Koreans on streaming shit talking about we need to come together. I don't never see Mexicans on YouTube saying we need to build our own organization so that we taking care of each other. It seems like they just do that shit naturally. But I'm not.
Go ahead. I'm sorry about you. No, I was going to say that.
Just saying, I'm not in that community to really know. I don't look for that, but I know it's a whole lot of niggas talking about hieroglyphics and comedic knowledge and hidden history. Like thousands of us doing that, but ain't nothing being done while all these other races is doing backflips over our heads, staying together and having their own system.
Yeah, and I think that highlights though our position as a people. Our history, and specifically talking about in the U.S. And how we've been focused on, preached to, demonized, infiltrated, infested. Any term you got, we've been targeted every which way. And those other groups, while they've definitely had their issues, have that just what we talk about as an organization. They have nationhood, and there is something with having ties outside of this country that you can. I mean, while they obviously countries all over the world who've been infiltrated and colonized and what have you, there still is something where you can go back and you can fight on your land,
right?
And too many of us think that this is it here in the U.S. That
Well,
this is. Hmm?
exactly. But with that thought comes back to the consciousness of not only is this it, but the way things are here is it. This
Yeah.
is the way it's supposed to be. White people supposed to run
Yes.
everything, and we just got to make do with what we got and be happy if we do get something.
Yeah.
And that's the honest truth that we don't ever want to talk about, though. Like
Yeah.
we
Oh
so
yeah.
used we so used to being racially profiled. We so used to
Absolutely.
seeing somebody else got killed by the police. We so used to not getting the job or seeing somebody else get the promotion that we don't even think about it anymore. We desensitized to it, right?
Yeah.
That's right. But and it's critical when just our little conversations here, us talking. I keep saying it's us talking to us. And having those discussions. If you have children, and you can't, it's got to be age appropriate, but having discussions, seeing where, what their mindset is, stuff that they're seeing, things they're absorbing that you might not even realize they're absorbing. With the younger family members, with older family members, some of the things that come out of the mouths of folks who are older sometimes to me is shocking because you can hear either giving up or accepting how things are and just kind of shaking your head and leaning on either a supernatural being or just in general just accepting the way things are and just moving forward and not even thinking about the possibility of us doing for ourselves and really progressing for our people. And this, the consciousness and power. Let's say, the wakefulness, I think, was one of the terms used in here. Let me see, let me find that. Yeah. For example, wakefulness is the state of consciousness which facilitates certain types and forms of self-determined mental and physical behavior not possible during sleep as a state of consciousness or vice versa. Each level of consciousness makes the achievement of some goals possible while inhibiting the achievement of others. So I'd say if you're constantly telling yourself, if you're constantly seeing the negative about us constantly, and you tell yourself, you do it.
Right.
Can't do it. This is just how it's going to be. We can't do any better. And that's it. Just and then other behaviors follow. Like you give up. So why would you push for doing something other than living within society and participating within the society as it is?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is vital.
Well,
It's vital we talk to each other and stop having other people, no matter how well-meaning somebody might sound, we outside of outside of our people, there has to be a time where it's us talking to us making decisions. I think that's a huge effect on consciousness. It's not having the outside every single minute, even when we're discussing our issues, having the outside involved in everything.
And when I thought about when I was reading this chapter, I thought about Liberia and what we've talked about and what we've discovered with the government and stuff. What is their consciousness like? Because it's like, okay, they see they look up to what's being on TV, and I'm thinking on top of that, the condition that they're in, like, are they seeing themselves the same way too? And
Mhm.
they have people that are they're people that are in office, but they're just not, they're not treating them
Yeah,
right. So it's
yeah,
like that right there. That's like a different, form of or different phase of consciousness where it's just like your own people is not even taking care of you.
that's
So
right.
like how are they going to view anybody that's in the African diaspora, you know, that's trying to help out or such. So that it was just a thought that I thought about.
Hmm. I also under the section with group consciousness where he links the how he's talking about individuals and how we can um, also make that description the group consciousness.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about, I guess, what we call, people who are coons, who
Oh,
actively who actively work against, uh, against our progressing, against against us doing anything that would help our people. And if you and he breaks it down, like if you feel a certain
What's up,
way
man?
about your, oh, if you feel a certain way about yourself, and I have to find the section because I had it. Well, here we go. He says, racially isolated African individual will learn too late that he can. This is on page 98. Under that in that first paragraph, the racially isolated African individual will learn too late that he cannot aid and abet the destruction of his former race, without ultimately aiding and abetting his own personal destruction.
mm,
As I think about when, I hadn't been a part of the what's called the conscious community, and a lot of people who who've tricked and basically taken money from our people with the promise of consciousness and self empowerment and empowering the community, that type of thing, and how some of them apparently fit into this description when they decide to move on. It's like an extreme hatred, and it's like you can ultimately all of us have got to, in order to move forward, have got to get to the realization you can't aid and abet the destruction of your race. Those coons who want to make it their former race, without ultimately aiding and abetting your own personal destruction. You can, as much as you smile up in other groups' faces and what have you, you're still us.
right.
Just what Emoji was saying earlier. It's got to be, or those people have got to be moved out of the way in order for us to progress. But it's gonna take vetting, really vetting, to really get to, I think for some people it's going to take a lot of questions to get to a point where it's, oh, you really don't want to do this. Move
Exactly.
forward. Your consciousness is surface level.
This is right. And I'm glad
You
he
start digging.
right, and
Hmm.
I'm glad he touched up on the consciousness and explained that there are, levels to it.
Yeah.
So again, we got the whole woke culture, right?
Yeah.
We they could always talk about, how we were slaves and this, that, and the third. Like, okay, that's a nice little bit of consciousness, but are they conscious enough to know that nationhood is the solution and how we need to have control of our own, social construct and reality? Like now that
Nation Nationhood would be here, right here, a nation within a nation. That would be the model.
right, that's their awareness. Like, oh, we gotta
Yeah.
do it right here. Like
Yep.
a light bulb went up their head, not knowing that we did it here like for centuries, and it didn't work out as it's supposed to be. So
Yeah.
yeah, but any other thoughts you guys wanted to chime in on, or
Yo, what book is this,
Found
by the way?
a blueprint for Black Power, Dr. Amos
Yeah.
Wilson.
Oh, okay. Got you.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
we were just talking about chapter 4 and chapter 5. Next will be self-concept and power.
Hmm.
So that
Good.
that will be interesting. Maybe it's Amos Wilson is talking about how people interpret, you know,
Hmm. Hmm.
certain information after, the whole consciousness or so. So I don't know. I look forward to that. I look forward to that. But
Too.
yeah,
I'll
man.
say for this chapter, this consciousness and power chapter, how he ends it, again, like he ended his previous, well, the previous chapters we read, his summation, and kind of gives you that gut punch.
Yeah.
And I think in a good way, here realizing, basically this is what needs to be done. When he says African consciousness will realize its full power, second to none, when it dedicates itself exclusively to the advancement and satisfaction of African interests before all others. And it goes on
Right.
to that. Yeah. But I mean, it was to me just another powerful chapter. You learn. This is good. This is a lot of stuff. No, some did, though I didn't.
Yeah. I'm really
I'm
just
appreciating it.
I'm really just amazed by the order it's going. Like we first learn
Hmm.
what is power, and then the different forms of it, and then talking about, how it affects, culture,
Right.
how it, affects your consciousness, and then it's going to boil down to, possibly how we interpret it, how it's
Right.
impacting
Oh,
socially,
we still got a long way. We still got a long way to go. You know, he
right?
about to
Yes,
go all the way in. He about to go all the way
yes,
in.
yep. This is just the beginning. That's right. That's like wow.
Shaking my
Now,
It's
head.
good.
Dude was special, man. I like to
Yes,
read it, and
yes,
I
indeed.
when I'm really getting into the reading, I like try to listen like it's him talking, and
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
don't know why, man. It just makes it a little bit more powerful, and it slows me down because you know how he had that deliberate delivery when he
Yeah,
spoke.
yeah,
Hmm.
So yeah, yeah, man.
yeah.
I dig
Just
it. I'm digging it.
some my wow. Just someone. You see, there are a few people I really wish were here. Um, but he left us with um
The
a lot
blueprint.
of yeah, the blueprint. He left us with a lot, and yeah, this being to me crucial, absolutely crucial. You tell he loved our people. He loved African people.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
here it is, y'all. And you could tell the times in some of this, obviously in the '90s, but I said a lot. I don't know. Almost none of it's changed, so we can definitely say this is a great blueprint. Explaining what the problem is, because some people don't even agree on what the problem is. Um, from a psychologist's perspective, lay it all out for y'all.
Yeah, but
This is
it's
what it is.
hard.
This needs to be done.
It's really hard to break through that when you already have a consciousness
Yeah,
that's developed in some way. It's
yeah.
just like having a religion. If you believe in Christianity and Jesus is your Lord and Savior, why the fuck would you at all read a book about atheism? You know, why would you read a book about Chinese enlightenment or something like that when all you
Mm,
need is the Bible? And that's the same way with consciousness. Like, I don't want to hear what you're talking about. Like, I know what the truth is and what's working for me. Fuck y'all people.
Right.
yeah,
Well, I think we're good.
yeah.
Self-concept and power next Sunday, and we will transition into tonight's topic, Black marriage.